Welcome to Week 15 of the NFL. I mean, this is it. This is where seasons are made and where they are completely broken. But with all the crazy upsets we see every single week, how do you really separate the true contenders from the teams that are just, counting down the days? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to cut right through all the noise and find the real deciding factors for this week's games.
Right. So what actually decides a game this late in the year? Let me tell you, it's not just about the win-loss record anymore. Not by a long shot. The whole dynamic of the season has shifted, and to understand who wins and why, you've got to look at a completely different set of variables.
So let's dive in. The late season is a different beast entirely. It's less about who has the best record overall, and more about three things. 1, the fallout from the trade deadline. 2, how rookie quarterbacks are holding up under the pressure. And 3, and this one is huge, which teams have just plain given up and are already looking at next year's draft.
So, how are we figuring all this out? We're leaning on a super powerful data model called the Predictive Composite Index. Basically, it looks at all the nitty-gritty stuff. We're talking team efficiency, roster health, even the dang weather. This thing helps us see the game in a whole new light beyond just the names on the jerseys.
Okay, so first up, let's get the obvious ones out of the way. I'm talking about the predictable blowouts. The games where, let's be honest, there's such a massive gap in talent and motivation that you kind of already know the outcome before the first whistle.
First on the list, the Jets at the Jaguars. I mean, you couldn't find two teams heading in more opposite directions. The Jets have basically hit the eject button on this season. They've shipped off two of their absolute best defensive players, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Meanwhile, the Jaguars are soaring, with Trevor Lawrence looking like a top-tier quarterback.
And all of that, it leads to this number. Yeah, the Jaguars have a 99% chance to win this thing. The main takeaway here is crystal clear. This outcome isn't about some fancy coaching scheme. It's pure, simple math. The talent gap after those trades is a chasm. Jacksonville is going to cruise.
Next, let's look at the Cardinals visiting the Texans. Arizona is walking into this game completely wounded. They're going to be without their number one receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., and their starting left tackle, Paris Johnson Jr. I mean, can you imagine losing your top weapon and the guy who protects your blind side? That is a quarterback's worst nightmare.
And for Houston, they have to be licking their chops. They've got the most efficient defense in the entire league, and now their pass rush gets to go up against the backup offensive lineman? Yeah, it is going to be a long day for the Cardinals QB. Houston wins this one easy.
And you're going to see a very similar story play out with the 49ers and the Titans. You've got San Francisco absolutely stacked with talent, fighting for a top playoff seed. And they're up against a Titans team that's already sold off key players. Look, the talent gap is huge, sure. But the motivation gap, it might be even bigger. One team is playing for a Super Bowl, the other is playing for the number 1 draft pick. 49ers by a mile.
All right, let's talk about the Raiders visiting the Eagles, because Vegas has a huge problem. Their starter, Geno Smith, is out. That means they're throwing their backup, Kenny Pickett, to the Wolves. And those Wolves are the Eagles' defensive line.
And that's exactly where this game is going to be won and lost. It's all about what happens in the trenches. The Eagles' D-line, which they loaded up on at the trade deadline, has just an overwhelming advantage, especially against a Raiders O-line that's also missing its starting left tackle. Philly's going to dominate that line of scrimmage and cruise to a win.
Okay, so we've gotten through the blowouts. Now, let's get to the good stuff. The real nail-biters. These are the games that are going to be decided on a razor's edge, where one tiny thing, a gust of wind, one key injury, a smart play call, decides the whole shebang.
And we have to start with this monster AFC East showdown, Bills at Patriots. You've got two elite teams, two superstar quarterbacks going head-to-head. Drake May is just playing on another level for the Pats, leading the entire league in efficiency. And on the other side, it's Josh Allen. Need I say more?
So who's got the edge here? Well, get this. The forecast is calling for some heavy winds. Now, you think that hurts the passing game, right? But the data actually shows that May is a master of these quick, intermediate throws that kind of cut through the wind. You combine that with the legendary home field advantage the Patriots have in Foxborough in December, and it gives them the slightest edge. This one is a total toss-up, but we're leaning Pats.
Okay, now for something I bet you didn't see coming this season. The Kansas City Chiefs are struggling. I mean, really struggling. Their offense, which used to be this unstoppable juggernaut, is now just average. Middle of the pack. There are even reports of emotional fatigue coming out of that locker room.
So where's the weak spot? It's right up the middle. The Chiefs' interior offensive line is banged up, and that's the engine room of their offense. And who are they playing?
The Chargers, who under Jim Harbaugh have become this gritty, physical, run-it-down-your-throat kind of team. In the freezing cold, give me the team that can run the ball. We're calling for a Chargers upset here. All right, you got to hear this. This is easily the wildest storyline of the week. The Colts have lost both their QBs to injury. So what do? They signed 44-year-old Philip Rivers. Yes, that Philip Rivers, the guy who hasn't played in years. And they're starting him against the Seahawks. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up.
And it's not like he's getting an easy warm-up game. Oh, no. He's going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. And what defines that defense? This number. A plus 13 turnover differential. That is the best in the entire NFL. It's not just good, it's a statistical anomaly. This team just lives on taking the ball away.
So let's just break this down for a second. You have a 44-year-old quarterback who hasn't really watched game film in 3 years, going up against the #1 turnover machine in the league in what is probably the loudest stadium in all of football. I mean, it is an absolute nightmare scenario. That's why the Seahawks are going to win this one hands down.
And for our Monday night game, we've got the Dolphins in Pittsburgh to face what has become an absolute super team. Seriously, what the Steelers have put together is nuts. It's like someone's fantasy team came to life. We're talking Aaron Rodgers thrown to DK Metcalf, with Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Queen on defense. Just an insane collection of talent.
So what's going to decide this one? It really boils down to two things. First, you've got the QB matchup in the freezing Pittsburgh weather. Aaron Rodgers is a surgeon in the cold. Tua, he has a history of struggling when the temperature drops. And second, the Dolphins' defense is just beat up with injuries. Rodgers should be able to pick them apart. Give me the Steelers.
Okay, so we've run through all these games, the blowouts and the nail-biters. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. If you really want to understand who's going to win in December, you have to look past the win-loss record. You've got to dig deeper into what's happening right now.
And hey, we'll even give you the blueprint, a simple 3-step guide you can use yourself. First, look at roster health. Who's playing, who's not, and who just got traded. Second, check out the quarterback situation. Is it a steady hand or a backup about to get thrown into the fire? And third, and this is a big one, what's the team's motivation? Are they playing for a playoff spot or are they playing for a draft pick?
Once you start looking at games this way, it totally changes how you watch. It's not just about who's got the better record anymore. It's about injuries, it's about motivation, it's about those tiny mismatches that decide everything. So, as you get ready for kickoff this weekend, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Which primary factor will you be watching for this Sunday?